train Jaipur via Kota.
कृपया ध्यान आपको अहमदाबाद
दिल्ली में आपका स्वागत.
Lucknow Junction.
ನಿಲ್ದಾಣದ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಹೊರಟಿರುವ ರೈಲು
चेन्नई बेलूर तिरुचिरापल्ली Hyderabad Express পরবর্তী স্টেশন নেতাজি ভবন कृपया ध्यान दो.
It's been a tale of two halves, hasn't it? At the end of 10 overs, RCB marching along well, galloping well, 89 for 1. Virat Kohli at the crease, having just brought up his 50, thumping chest celebration as well. But the first ball of the 11th over is when Lalit Yadav picks his scalp. And then since then, it's been Delhi. You know, the second half of the innings belonging to Delhi. At the end of 20 overs, Bangalore putting up 174 on the board for the loss of 6 wickets. Virat Kohli scoring another 50 this season of 34 balls. And some contributions from Mahipal Lomror and Glenn Maxwell. And then, of course, you had Delhi spinners who wreaked havoc. We talked about them during the pre-match show and about them having to step up, and they certainly did step up. You're watching Cricbuzz Live. I'm Anubhav Jain. With me, Joy Dada, Polly Kaka. Joy, Delhi certainly the happier side walking back into the pavilion.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And amazing. I mean, who would have thought the odds are that Delhi is bowling 11 overs of spin. And their most successful spinner, Akshar Patel, has not completed his quota. So Lalit Yadav, the two Yadav boys have completed their quota. They've got 8. They've got the wickets as well. They've got 3 wickets among them. Akshar has got 1. But this is a really, really strange card. I mean, given all that has happened in the game, it's a really strange card. And one of the reasons is that Delhi's right-handers kept getting out early. And once they got out, all the left-handers came on one by one. And so they didn't finish Akshar, but they finished Lalit Yadav's quota. But absolutely, Delhi would be delighted by this, given the start they have, given the fact that Virat Kohli's got a 50, the odds that he wouldn't go on and dominate with it, getting somebody like Maxwell out when he'd done some damage, getting Dinesh Karthik out so cheap, it's just completely been their game.
Absolutely. You know, we talked about Delhi spinners needing to step up during the pre-match Cricbuzz Live show, and step up they did.
They did indeed. I mean, they'll be really happy. They'll also be happy with the performance that Marsh, the married Marsh, put in. His 2 for 18. But yeah, it was looking like a 200 score, wasn't it? I mean, after 10 overs. And you think that over of the Fizz, he bowled some shocking deliveries. I mean, it was like a leg stud, half tracker, and then a wide full one. And they had the momentum going too. I think it was like an over of 19 and then an over of 13. And as you say, the celebration almost, they just needed to stay calm, and you think, and just carry on batting because it was pointing of the bat, everything like that. Then the next full toss gets hit to deep mid wicket, catch taken, and it all collapses after that. So I think they'll be very disappointed. I got the feeling RCB kind of were overthinking things as well. You know, even with the people, the personnel coming to the crease. I think this left-hander, right-hander combination, and you can become obsessed with it. I mean, on that ground, just get a good batter in. It's such a small boundary that anyone who strikes it well will find the boundaries. You know, the 42 without loss, and then the 5 wickets. Have a look at that, 11 to 15.
That's where the damage was done.
Yeah, that was a huge damage was done. And then also keeping Karthik back. Come on, I mean, he's experienced enough to be able to just be more than the last 3 over batter. And then he gets the crease. He's probably a bit confused, drags his one away. So. Yeah, I think RCB would be very disappointed after that initial start. They were thinking, okay, we can put them under immense pressure. Their batting lineup struggled. Let's get a score of 200. And to have collapsed 45 for 5, very disappointing from their side.
100%. You talked about the fact that, you know, Mike Hesson might end up overcomplicating certain decisions. We saw Harshal Patel coming up the order. You know, hindsight is 20/20, but you reckon that was the correct decision?
No, I think that's what I'm thinking. They were throwing everything at the problem they could, and I just think that somebody like a Karthik, he's an international player. He's scored international. How can you keep him for so late when other batsmen are walking out there? I mean, this whole business that I want to hold him back.
Yeah.
You know, I can understand if it's the 5th over or the 6th over or something. This is the 13th, 14th over we're talking about. So, I mean, at that point in time, and the way the wickets fell after that, you know, 40 runs in the last 6 overs. I mean, that's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous the way it went. And that's my problem, that given the start that they had, I think Karthik not coming in, Lomrod coming in at 3, and then their impact substitute, Anuj Rawat, just didn't work. 15 of 22 balls. You cannot come in at the position he came in and take 22, you know, just 22 balls for making 15 runs. 1-4. one hit to
Yeah.
the boundary.
Yeah.
If he's your impact substitute, he has to do more than that.
Yeah, yeah. We've seen him open for Bangalore in previous seasons. Do you think he should have come up the order? I know it's not difficult. It's not easy as a youngster when you're coming in and you're expected to slog during the death overs. But we also saw him face like a Kuldeep Yadav over, and he didn't really show that spark or that intent when you just had 2 overs left in the innings.
Yeah, it's a difficult change of role. You know, when you're at the top of the order, you just got to beat the infield. The fielders are up. You got to find your gaps, and you're on, off, and running. To come in when you haven't faced any deliveries, now have to face against the spinners. It just kind of looked like he was a deer in the headlights there for a moment. You know, there was no attempt to sweep. He kind of defended 3 or 4 balls in a row. You know.
Yeah.
And in the modern era, you'll see someone try a normal sweep or reverse sweep or use their feet. So, yeah, I mean, he was probably caught by surprise too. He was sitting on the side there thinking, there's no way I ever get a chance to get a gig. And then it's like up to the dressing room, put the kit on, and it's like, okay, you know, what's on the go? So you do feel for him. But unfortunately, from his perspective, he won't have done himself any favours. They're not going to be looking and thinking, well, there's our impact play going forward. They're kind of thinking, well, that experiment didn't pay off.
Absolutely. And, you know, but someone who did have an impact in this game, making his comeback, Mitch Marsh. I remember Lisa mentioned yesterday during a post-match show when we were previewing this match that, you know, if he's coming back from a wedding, an Aussie coming back from a wedding, either he's going to be a massive hit or we're going to see like a very underwhelming performance. So far, based upon how things have panned out in the first innings, it seems as if, you know, he's having a good comeback after his wedding.
So the thing about it is that Mitch Marsh, if you remember, he comes in and he immediately goes for a couple of, he comes in, his first 3 balls are 4-1-4, okay? And then he gets a wicket of a ball which, absolutely a peach of a catch. 50% of the credit of that wicket goes to that catch. Aman Khan took an absolutely fabulous catch. And that made the difference. The funny thing is how fate catches up with you, because the very next ball he should have got another wicket and Manish Pandey drops the ball. So that's how it plays out. But really, Mitch Marsh did okay. But I think he got that breakthrough. And sometimes, as they say, the best thing you can have in a game, you know, for all the qualities a captain wants in you, I think the first quality any captain wants is luck. If you're a lucky player, if you get those. And if you see the 2 decisions they got, the 2 balls, the dismissal of Faf du Plessis and Virat Kohli, again, of the most innocuous delivery you can come across. Lalit Yadav's that ball, Virat Kohli would have probably been thinking, which part of the boundary should I hit this ball to? Where should I hit this ball? And he whacks it straight to the fielder.
I thought it was also funny, really amusing. I don't know if the viewers picked it up, but did you see the Mitchell-Marsh interaction where obviously the wicket that he sent upstairs with obviously the wicketkeeper said,
no, absolutely.
Don't do it. What are you doing? But afterwards they cut to Mitchell-Marsh and he's going, it's these big ears I've got. That's why I could hear it.
No, absolutely. And you can see Abhishek Porel's first going, no. It was okay. Thank you for not listening to me. Because you see David Warner looking at him, then looking at Mitch Marsh, then looking at him and said, he's an international player. If he thinks it's out, I'll go with him.
He's got the bigger ears.
Exactly. And it's funny because right after the dismissal, Akshar Patel went up to Abhishek Porel and he's like,
what are you doing? Well, what are you doing as a keeper if you can't hear the nick?
Exactly.
Anyway.
And that's something Shaun decoded as well for us. You know, in addition to the big ears, that's something Shaun decoded for us, what Akshar Patel was saying. Is that correct?
Yeah.
It's easier to decode Akshar Patel, what he was saying. Of course, the easiest to decode that way is Virat Kohli, because especially when he's expressive, calls his fellow English cricketers and,
I wonder what his celebration was all about.
The 50.
Yeah, he got the 50. There was the pump of the chest. It was the turn bat around. It was the pointing of the handle in a certain direction. I didn't quite get it. 50 in the IPL, great. You excited about it. But there seemed to be a bit more emotion.
And a 50 in the IPL for Virat Kohli, who's like probably the greatest IPL batsman ever is.
But he definitely looks a lot more animated this season. And speaking of being animated, I think the Delhi batsmen, given how things panned out in the first innings, will be animated as they're walking out to the field.
Prithvi is substituted in?
Most likely, that's going to be the case. But they'll be happy about the fact that, it's not too high a total they're chasing at a ground where, runs galore. Chinnaswamy, small boundary lines, they'll definitely have their tails up.
Also, Marsh comes back, so that gives them a bit more experience. It gives them a calmness. I would presume he would come at number 3. And now they know what they have to chase. They don't have to extend themselves. If you bat nicely, normally on this kind of ground, you kind of think you're going to get that score.
Yeah.
So I think this is played perfectly. They won the toss, bowled first, looked like they were going to be chasing more than 200. It's only 170 odd. And now they can go and play it in a very calculated way. So I don't think they should have a problem. For me, you say I've got to pick one, I'm saying Delhi should win this.
Yeah, but they've had the Indian batters in the middle. They've had like a fairly underwhelming tournament so far, and they would be looking not to make the same mistakes that Bangalore made, because today we saw with Bangalore, once the top order was gone, the middle order crumbled, middle order couldn't quite steady the ship.
Look, I think they have a situation there, and I think right now, if Prithvi Shaw goes in, there's Prithvi, Abhishek, and Lalit and Yash who are going to be playing. Even Akshar Patel has got runs for them. But that's the point. The Indian boys have to come to the party, because remember, they're playing two international fast bowlers. They're playing both Mufiz and Onokie.
Yeah.
Which means that there's that one Indian international batter who's normally coming in, a Riley Russo or a Rovman Powell, who's not playing today.
Yeah.
So the guys have to step up. Fortunately, this is the kind of game that you can step up on. What I'll be interested in seeing is what Bangalore throws, because definitely the key now is Hasaranga. What Hasaranga does is really going to impact this match most. If it turns a bit, Maxwell could come into action. Shahbaz will definitely bowl, because whatever we've seen, unless you're 150 and bowling to batsmen batting at 8 or 9 like Nokia did in his last spell, the ball's going to go. It's not easy for the fast bowlers. It's really the spinners who seem to have the advantage. Yeah,
but Bangalore, have their own woes, because they typically start off strongly in the power play, but then towards the fag end of the innings, the last 10 overs is when they sort of lose the plot. They end up, having teams on the rope. Mumbai, you saw in the first match, Kolkata in the second match, Mumbai 98 for 5, Kolkata 89 for 5, but they allowed both teams to come back into the match, and both teams ended up with 170 plus scores, 171, 204. Even in the game against Lucknow, they ended up conceding about 108 in the last 8.5 overs, and that's something they definitely have to rectify. They're bowling in the second half of the innings.
Yeah, I think that's the challenge on that ground, is it's difficult to defend. And, once you get someone who's striking, it was Stoinis one of the times, I think he was hitting it really well.
Ian Puran.
Yeah,
Puran.
To try and pull that back, it can be an impossibility. A little bit of dew sometimes gets on the ball, hard to control. And that's what makes it so nice to chase on that ground.
Yeah.
But I don't think Delhi will have to bring those fireworks. I think they're going to Bangalore's definitely going to need to strike up front again and really continue to apply the pressure. The other thing with Hasaranga is they can probably knock him around. They don't really have to go after him. They don't have to be extreme about what they do against him.
And Mohammad Siraj will definitely have to be key. And so far, he's shown fine form this season. In the last game, conceded only about 20 or 22 in his 4 overs, picked up 3 wickets. And so if he can actually give them like that good start up front, then it might be a challenge for Delhi.
Look, Siraj is great up front, and I love him because he's a wicket-taking bowler, and he actually suits the Bangalore surface, because Bangalore you can't contain. So he's a kind of bowler who's a wicket-taking bowler. He's more expensive than other bowlers around him, but he tends to get you breakthroughs. And Bangalore is a kind of ground where containment is not an option. You've just got to get wickets. In fact, the other person I'm very interested in seeing is how Parnell does on this ground. Because I think Parnell is a key. And how has he been in domestic?
I think he's just an up-front bowler at the moment. When he comes back at the back end, I think that's where he's going to struggle. South Africa-wise, SA20, he did pretty well. He's done all right for South Africa. But I think it might be a bit more challenging, different opposition this time around.
Because if he's also up front, that means that right at the end, it's just Harshal Patel at one side, and then they'll have to figure out whether Hasaranga keep working.
And with Siraj, he's got to just stay out of the way of DK. He mustn't try and take his catches anymore. Just leave DK to take the catches. But another 2. How many did we get? 3 catches dropped in this last game. I mean, it's
5. We had 5 dropped yesterday. Delhi dropped quite a few in the first match.
Something about Delhi saying that they've had 30 opportunities and only taken 17. So they've already dropped 13 or 15 catches in this uphill.
Ponting even mentioned that, Delhi need to do a lot of soul searching, I think specifically with regard to their fielding as well as the middle over woes. You said Delhi favourites going into the second innings, but what do you think, how can Bangalore actually turn the tide in their favour?
Yeah, they have to pick up early wickets. I mean, what they've done, we saw that graphic there, they've been good at picking up initially. I think they have to try and put the flutter through that Delhi batting lineup. And I think if they can get the wicket of Warner, I think that's key, because he's been the one who's been consistent, and he's kind of been the glue. you pick up Warner, Marsh and Prithvi. I mean, if they can pick up 2 of those quickly, then they might have a little bit of belief because of the way the Indian batters have batted for Delhi so far in the tournament.
And you mentioned Prithvi. We can confirm that Prithvi has come out to bat, which is also a signal that we should get to our power play predictions. Joy, congratulations for your first innings victory.
I don't know what I said, 172 or 178, but
You were good enough to win.
I just somewhere sat in between, but I mean, it was one of those things that definitely you didn't think you'd win in the 10th over. So power play, I'll go high because I think if Delhi get off to a start, they'll get a good start. I'm going 55.
55.
49.
55, 49. I'll say 43. I think they'll start off conservatively, but we'll find out whether any of us, ends up winning, whether he can make it 2 out of 2, and you definitely share your predictions with us as well. And as usual, goes without saying, the next drill, join us again for Cricbuzz Combox at the end of the 10 over mark. We'll see you then. Cheers.
Jaipur via Kota.
कृपया ध्यान आपो अहमदाबाद
दिल्ली में आपका स्वागत
Lucknow Junction.
ನಿಲ್ದಾಣದ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಹೊರಟಿರುವರೈ ಚೆನ್ನೈ ರೇಣುಗು ತಿರುಚಿರಾಪಳ್ಳಿ
Hyderabad को 50 एक्सप्रेस कोलुबुसी स्टेशन नेताजी भवन कृपया ध्यान दें